Hello everyone, welcome to a presentation on behalf of United People. This is Jeff Rudd speaking and it is time for better. Before we start, there is 3 things to note. 1. Please do pause at any point to further view or read the background slides at any time. 2. Know that what you're about to see and hear is just a small sample of greater information you should be more aware of, but are not told by others of quiet agenda. 3. Afterwards, please do seek out other independent confirmations about what you are going to hear and view, besides researching further, as you should, into connecting matters. So let's cut to the chase. Cold reality. An underlying truth. Long-established parties in Ireland have had a consistent history of lying, U-turns, hiding corruption, silent about the antics of others, too close to others involved in questionable policies that betray the public. All this and more has gone on for not just years, but decades, even as far back as 1926, when Ireland became a more genuine country. Since 1926, a number of matters had to be seen to be investigated. This long list of inquiries that often later came to no further actions regarding accountability is something that needs to be further examined. Please take time to read through it when possible. The list you see should give you a further inkling into what's considered to be a small tip of a larger Irish iceberg of corruption, past, present, and continuing into the future. If the previous wasn't enough to give you an inkling about what's really going on quietly in Ireland, here is even more modern matters that need to be further investigated, but quite frankly are not being carried out. Why? Please ask your local and national elected, because they are giving up very few answers, but instead ducking questions asked and ducking the actual public from allowing those questions to be put to them. In Ireland, there seems to be an unfairness, very unfairness that exists. There is one law for you and there's one law for them. Them being senators and elected TDs, and maybe even your local elected. They gain, you lose. Their antics has continued on from the past, not just for years but for decades. Again, this is causing the public to lose more money while they gain. You have many of their antics and lies buried, while they continue on today going on about internet safety and advocating for changes to be made. They're quietly hoping that many of their own past antics can remain buried. You have tax lawbreakers actually regaining more money from people through their own tax contributions, as they further gain more massive pay, perks and pensions as they get re-elected back to national office. You have secret meetings going on for which there is deliberately no notes taken and you're not informed who even attended or what was actually said. You have possible guilty walking away from their own immoral actions, never to be held accountable at all, when in fact not only when they walk away they get massive further perks and pensions, they get also national state roles also later on down the line. Then we have other issues such as social welfare, job path, more about that later. You have the Irish Army issue and the EU Army issue, formerly known as PESCO, and the money centred around that. None of this has been generally told to the public, but you're going to hear about some of it in this presentation. What it basically boils down to is that in Ireland there is masses of quiet corruption and very, very little accountability. And that is what United People is about, accountability. As you will see further on, we are going to address this matter. More Irish reality, if you can handle it. On screen is going to come up a list of some issues that are still ongoing that have continued from the past and which seriously need further investigation by the public. Many of these antics involves local or national elected, sometimes mixed in with local businesses or international businesses right across the country. The things that has gone on in this country would make the hairs of many stand on the back of their neck, but national media is not informing them mostly of what's actually going on. When it comes to media, much of what they know has actually been buried away from public attention, eyes and ears. People have been tried to be bought off, or the people themselves are up to their own antics, and even in government departments more is further buried. Lies have been told. This is just one example, and the Kenny stating we have not introduced any new taxes, when in fact 45 plus of them have been introduced since 2011. On screen now is just some of them. The latest one is currently the tax that has been applied to laptops, phones, PCs and any sort of electronic device that can receive a signal. This has been referred to as a reintroduction of a new household charge, as it will apply to every home in the country. So once again, you are paying for something you are already paying for. If any of this sounds familiar, think Irish water. In Ireland, there is a bigger picture. Some of the pieces you do know about, some of them you don't. Some of the pieces involve JobPath, PESCO, Irish neutrality, the EU Army, Irish water, and illegal actions centred around that, the public service card, and many more illegal actions centred around that, which you've not been told about. There is the privatisation agenda, as mentioned. There is big data, which involves your personal information, your legal asset, which has been illegally stolen from you and handed over to private companies. There's many pieces and more. Or it basically boils down to is this: your fundamental rights are currently under quiet attack. You're not meant to know this, we're telling you, but generally the Irish public beyond this broadcast is not being told. But hang on, surely reporters should be trying to mention all this. Some of them are. Unfortunately, a vast majority of them are being shut down, or their efforts have been stopped by those above them. When it comes to media censorship, there has been a lot of it. But how do you know it even exists if you don't know that it exists? One of these issues that involves censorship centres around social welfare, job path costs, the Irish Army, PESCO, which is the EU Army setup, and additional costs involved in that. The next slide we shall go into these a little bit deeper, so I'll just briefly mention them here. But please do pause on this screen and read the text and further investigate. You really should. Let's talk about cold, real, absolute reality. The graphic you now see on screen is actually 100% accurate in ratio to the monies mentioned on it. You have 18 billion euro of quiet discounts given away by NAMA, which has meant that the public has lost out massively. You have the Apple tax dodging issue of 13 plus billion, which has also seen the people lose out, and they're going to further lose out as the Fine Gael government is fighting a case so they can hand back this tax dodging money back to the private company for which they've also given special discounts to. But you're not supposed to know about all that. In distraction, they are currently trying to make you infight amongst yourselves over smaller amounts in terms of 200 million regarding social welfare. So while they have you distracted fighting over the smaller number, they're trying to distract you away from the far more massive numbers which they don't want you to acknowledge or discuss or source out who is actually responsible. Malcolm X once said, if you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. In cold, absolute reality Ireland today, this has never been more true. Moving on, more censorship. This relates to the current issue of PESCO, EU Army, and Irish neutrality. Please do pause and look at this article which appeared in the Phoenix magazine 4th of December. It is an indication of a far larger issue which has been quietly buried away from you and for which you are not being given any democratic vote on. But in cold reality, it'll cost you €3.5 billion plus between 2019 and 2020, while the government says it cannot find €3 billion to fund rural broadband. The mega spending that's going on involving this issue means more guns, ships, spy equipment, and yes, as mentioned, the French-German stealth fighters. Irish neutrality completely watered down. The PR sales pitch being they are now different forms of neutrality. Seriously, different forms of neutrality? Ireland was once supposed to be neutral. It's no longer. Democracy, where was the public given a vote on all these issues? It never happened. They weren't even informed most of the time about what their own elected was actually up to. And then when it comes to the building of an EU army, we have Article 29, subsection 9. Quote, the state shall not adopt a decision taken by the European Council to establish a common defence pursuant to Article 42 of the Treaty on the European Union, where that common defence would include the state. In other words, what the government is actually doing now in getting Ireland to join an EU army is actually completely unconstitutional and runs against the actual law of the state, besides being actually immoral. More things going unreported. Let's talk about elections. Mystery surrounds missing ballot box papers in County Meath. You would think this would just be a once-off, but no, in fact, this is happening right around the country at the last local elections, national elections, and prior ones. Louth, Dublin, Donegal, Galway, Longford, and more have reported that their ballot boxes have disappeared for hours on end, sometimes overnight, and nobody knows what's going on, and again, no accountability by anybody for these ballot boxes going missing and never turning up. Irish media, however, generally is not reporting this. Many stories are being reported, but it's outside Irish media. In other words, UK media that are reporting the items that Irish media won't. On screen now is just more of the items that you're not been fully told about. Please read them at your leisure. Please do investigate them further. I'll mention one or two of them. The Noel Edmonds full RTE interview that you never got to fully see if you're looking for it across the internet. It has been edited so you don't hear criticisms of the banks, etc. You have judges ignoring laws and leaving courts illegally and carrying out illegal acts. Again, media buried. You have the growing issue of state contracts being repeatedly rewarded to Dennis O'Brien, who in turn has been a cash contributor to the Fine Gael party. You have the privatisation of state services as previously mentioned. You have issues around Mary Boyle, the poor child that went missing, a local electric connection. You have reports going missing or been held back regarding the Kerry babies issue or the Roscommon eviction papers that have been actually illegally issued. All media buried or held back. But if you think these things are just one-offs, you need to think again. Because if you actually look at our media, or the bits that you do find out about, or allowed to find out about, you'll find that these are just the tip of the iceberg. It should be mentioned at this stage that most of this reporting has been done by UK newspapers, and only once in a while has actually Irish-based media reported on some of these issues. Most of the time it has been UK publications with their Irish version of their newspapers imported that has actually reported on these matters. So we're going to be talking about redacted issues. When it comes to redacted issues, it means you know less and less. Was this done by RTE or other people? We leave it for yourself to decide. Overall, RTE continues to be too silent on too many matters. This means people have been left in the dark, locally and nationally. This is a dangerous risk to your bank account, your legal rights, and to your family, past and future. If you do swallow RTE's content, do so at your own risk of being lied to or being left not told the full actual truth on many matters. Quick example, the Irish government did give us a tax incentive agreement, says Apple, but the Irish government, through media sources, are saying the complete opposite. Held back. When it comes to information being held back from the public, it's not only happening at national level, it's more so beginning at local level. This has been going on for some time, and in many cases it's honestly because advertising revenue is feared lost by newspapers and other media outlets. I'm from Drogheda, and one of the issues has been centred around budget allocations. There's now been secret meetings been held about this, and the public has not been generally informed as regards what's been going on. They've tried to hold all the meetings in secret. The Oireachtas has tried to gag Sunday Times reporters about issues involving Ireland and some of the antics of elected. One of them being Enda Kenny's ally who let out an office to Irish Water under a quiet contract, and this ally was actually from Enda Kenny's own constituency and his actual own coming. When it comes to fake news, RTE knows all about it. The station has a consistent national record of repeated topic avoidance and own inaccurate reporting. Remember that saying by Malcolm X? Keep that in mind constantly over the next few slides which you're about to see. When it comes to keeping people in the dark, RTE have become masters of the act. It's in the best interest of elected to keep citizens actually in better uninformed darkness. Let them know there is more protesters out and about, or more protests going on at a weekly or even daily rate, either in Dublin or in other areas around Ireland. RTE can't be having that. RTE is quite willing to lie or misrepresent many situations that are currently ongoing or that have happened in the past. An example of this is the image that you now see on your screen. This was a snapshot of an RTE report that appeared online where they tried to show some protesters attending a rally in Dublin over Irish water issues. In actual fact, this is the numbers that actually attended. RTE was exposed for carrying out the misrepresentation, and later on they were reluctantly forced to change the image on their website to something more accurate. When it comes to real news, you're not supposed to learn about the different versions that apply for different people. This again is one further example. Thursday the 28th of June 2018. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar says there is no migrant crisis. This was reported by RTE, credit to them for that he stated this. Less than 24 hours later, you had a further report going national, Saturday the 30th of June, migration crisis largely created by politicians, says Varadkar. So again, just to reiterate, 18th of June, there is no migrant crisis. 30th of June, there is a migrant crisis, and it's been created by politicians. And this comes from the same man. The contradiction was not reported by RTE, it was quickly glossed over. One example of many that's out there, which you can find if you do your proper research. When it comes to ignored news, RTE and other media are quite willing to blank many things. This is a further example. Leo Varadkar beside a man called Sean O'Connor, And then a quote in national media saying that Mr. Varadkar claimed he didn't know Sean O'Connor. When it comes to RTE, they are in fact quite willing not to question many blatant lies, and they will leave unaddressed many elected matters. What you have on the screen is 10 further examples just from one TD of how they have misrepresented or completely lied issues currently or past happening in Ireland. Even worse, all in their Fine Gael party went along with this, quietly or nationally said nothing, allowing the lies and misrepresentations to continue. So, where do we go from here? One of the arguments that has been constantly said to United People is, sure, why fight it? Nothing will ever change. Well, speaking for myself, the hospital crisis, issues around children, issues involving parental legal matters, and issues around my own children, their health and their rights, makes me want to fight onwards. But people are absolutely correct. Absolutely nothing will change as long as we are unwilling to even try, or again, remain too silent. The problem isn't that we don't have access to the truth, it's just that some people, or most people, don't want to hear it. And elected politicians, along with senators, are quite happy for this situation to continue. But I will be attacked for speaking up, claims many. And they would be quite right. United People has been out protesting and informing people about many situations. What we've gained in return is abuse offline and online, stealing of family pictures, which are then misrepresented, altered, and more. We've been physically attacked at our homes, physical damage to property and personal bodies. While we have continued exposing job path and other abuses that are currently still ongoing, we have been attacked at our own doorsteps, been stoned from outside, and had bottles thrown at us studded with nails. But it hasn't stopped us from continuing to speak onwards, standing up for the rights of citizens in Ireland. Speaking for myself, I will continue to do this as long as there's breath in my body. We will still keep speaking at public meetings, no charge. If we are invited, we will try to come and expose what's still going on in Ireland. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men and women to continue doing nothing. A further extension of a famous quote by Edmund Burke. Moving forward. Why should we do these things? Well, in three parts. Respecting those that have gone before us, their hard work, their grafting, previous generations that have toiled away. We should be doing it to protect those that are still with us and build on the trust that they have endowed to us. We should be doing more for today's citizens who are facing an ever-increasing open and stealth financial extraction from their incomes. We should be giving the public more accountability, not less. We owe it to our future generations to set them up with the best stable government structures possible to assist them, not hinder them, in their lives ahead. It's our children that will suffer from our lack of action today. Tomorrow's future is in our hands. Good government. Many people have ideas about what makes up good government. One idea put forward is that it's a house built on a firm foundation. Within the house itself contains many ideas and issues that need to be addressed. This is just some of them. 1. Laws that reflect the moral agenda of the society according to present conditions. This must allow for an ability to change and adapt as society changes. 2. Contain elected representatives who work for the people, gaining their permission for important fundamental changes to the very society. 3. contain department heads that are working for the people, not against them, especially not ruling over them, putting private businesses first over the rights of citizens. 4. Using available country resources to the betterment of the people, guarding them from exploitation so that all citizens of class and distinction reap the rewards fairly and not going just to a smaller elite again and again. 5. To protect the previous and more, the state has to have in place a workable constitution adhered to that provides ultimate protection against others with an immoral agenda. The foundation of all this, methods of underlying accountability. This is especially important when citizens are being attacked and being used by elected and private enterprise. In United People, we say accountability at all levels must increase. As we talk to people around the country, many disagree with us not on this. Rotten elected won't address our kept weakened bedrock of non-accountability. When elected are pushed, at best, citizens gain PR sound bites and token offerings of supposed accountability in the future, before being distracted by other issues deliberately, and the actual topic of accountability is then deliberately dropped. Working towards a better future. It's madness to repeat previous voting patterns and still expect serious fundamental change that previous elected at all levels has consistently failed to supply. In other words, we've got to change the way we are doing things if we really want realistic change. In order to combat the problem of no change or little change, United People is doing the following. It's addressing current issues, where it's being proactive, not just reactive, like too many parties are currently doing. It's looking for greater accountability in all areas, some of which the public are unaware of. It's helping to defend others in court and outside court. It's sharing knowledge to others so that they can better stand up for themselves and further build up their confidence to be able to do so. Expose, defend, repair, build. This to us is the right way to go and the right way to help better our country. If you visit the United People website, you will see many examples of us doing this. Please do visit unitedpeople.ie and gain further insight into what's going on within Ireland. Much of that's been hidden from you, and other areas that need to be addressed to make Ireland a better place to live in for ourselves and our future offspring. Our society needs to be improved. A society is only as good as the way its officials treat its people, regardless of difference. This means all its people, not just a few or select elite. We do it for our children, for our husbands and wives, and for those we love. Enhancing, aiding, and protection. We all know the crises that have to be solved, but we also know about the ones that are left unsolved and the ones that are allowed to walk away. The ones that we do know about are merely a scratch of the surface. While this goes on, other people are paying the price for non-accountability and immoral actions and breaking of laws by elected and senators. Do not think for 1 second that you cannot make a difference. You can. In order to do this, we do ask a couple of things. 1. Please don't just like this item if you come across on Facebook. Please do share it. Knowledge is power, and it's about time that it's returned back to the people. This is a fundamental United People ideology. Please just don't agree with what you see or hear. Speak about it to others. Again, this is information sharing which builds up confidence in others. They feel more comfortable in dealing with many tough situations on a daily basis, and you're not only informing them, you're also helping them to defend themselves. Please, just don't accept situations. Question, even research further. This is very important. It's a fundamental principle about protecting yourself presently and the future of yourself and your offspring. Please, don't be complacent. It's easy enough to switch off this video when you're done and forget about it. But these are fundamental issues that will affect you and your children now and into the future. They are fundamental issues that will cost you your rights and financially, money-wise, in your bank account and your very pocket. So please, don't be complacent about these issues. If you really want to help stop by not electing offenders, or in some cases, repeat offenders. Sometimes the solution is plain obvious. Remember, if you are waiting for someone to change things, you are also that someone. Don't let others see you in a lesser light. Don't treat yourself as anything less. Change comes when you realize your ability to help it arrive. Vote beyond traditional and parochial thinking, and you will set Ireland, your town, and your family on the right road to positive progression. You do have the right to remain silent, but we don't honestly recommend it. You would be doing your family and your country a service if you were to further talk about some of the issues just briefly mentioned here and do some independent research. Some of that research would involve going to our website at UnitedPeople.ie, checking out our Facebook and Twitter accounts also. Please visit any or all of them. Thank you for listening to myself, Jeff Rudd, the current leader of United People. I wish you good health and a good future. Slán Matt.